Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan Newple here, Knup Sports Show, episode 232. Hope you're all doing very well today. I am doing amazing. It was just coming off week one of the NFL. It's like the best time of year for me personally. I absolutely love it. I spend all day Sunday watching football. Hopefully, you got to watch a little bit as well. Wearing my Tampa Bay Bucks shirt down here in Orlando, Florida today. They are coming off a big win. I will say I'm not a super fan, but I have adopted them as a team and do enjoy watching the Bucks. So hopefully your team won, or your fantasy team won, or you had a good day betting, whatever it was. Football's here. We are back, baby. We are back. A little housekeeping before we dive into today's show, which we have another amazing guest for you. I cannot wait to dive in to this show. But first, a little housekeeping. First off, we are super proud as a company. We've finished the launch of Coded Content. We're going to actually have a whole episode about what Coded Content is, but it's our version of a sports smart AI content creation tool for brands. We're super excited to kind of bring this to the world and really showcase what we can do for brands from an AI sports smart content side. So super excited about that. Codedcontent.ai. We're actually going to bring on somebody and talk a whole show about that here soon. But excited about that internally. A little personal brag there before we get going here. We are proud media partners of SBC. SBC Summit Lisbon is only 2 weeks away. So September 24th to 26th, make sure you get your tickets for that. If you have not gotten your tickets already, New Partner VIP will get you an amazing discount. It's going to be like the super show of iGaming, or super show of gaming, whatever they're calling it there in Lisbon. All right, without further ado, let's dive into the meat of today. Let's bring on our guest. Today we have John Libro of drive21. John, how you doing?
I'm great. How you doing, Ryan?
Amazing, doing well here down in Orlando. How you doing up north there?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I know your Bucks, you gave a shout out. My Birds did okay. The Eagles rallied against the Packers. That was good to see as well. Very, very excited NFL is here.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to dive. I could talk sports all day, but I'm curious. What were your thoughts on that game? You know, being in kind of foreign territory there, and I know what were your thoughts on that game in general and how that looked?
You know, I thought it showed both teams, right? They're going to punch it out all year long. I think they're both good teams, right? They can move the ball, they can run the ball. You know, I was happy to see the Eagles sort of was one of the last guys with the balls, and then they won the game. Yeah. For us as an Eagle fans, we just want to give a hat tip to the Giants for letting us take on Saquon, because, man, he's just a difference maker on the field. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think, one of the just things about that, and we'll dive in here in a second, but, the thing that really stands out to me is the NFL trying to get global, right? Going to Brazil, playing, and really kind of a landmark game for doing something like that. And I know that, there's a lot of complaints. Oh, the field wasn't good, and that's why Jordan Love got hurt and all sorts of stuff. But, long term, I'm glad they kind of planted a stake and said, hey, we're going to try to go global and do a lot more of this over the years. So I thought that was cool about the game, regardless of, your Eagles pulling one out. But it was cool to see them play in a different area. And I actually have friends that were at that game, or I have a friend that was at that game, and it sounds like the atmosphere was just amazing. So pretty cool.
I caught Coach Sirianni's press conference in the end, and it was genuine, it seemed, but he just thanked, that whole, Brazilian fan base, et cetera. And they said it's an amazing experience, right? Just all around. They really embraced the NFL there. So it's exciting.
Well, cool, John. Like I said, I could talk Eagles with you all day, but let's dive into you. Let's dive into what you're doing with Drive21. First off, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your career path that kind of led you to what you're doing today.
Yeah. So, my background has been more in the sports agency world for most of my career. I spent a better part of going on like almost 12 years at Van Wagner Sports Group, which originally started off as Dorna. It was a really interesting company to join at that time. They bought a technology called, this rotating signage technology from Spain that they used in international football, because there's no stoppage of play. They put advertising along the pitch, and we brought that technology over and put it courtside in the NBA and behind home plate Major League Baseball, and same thing with college basketball as well. From there, went into the tech space for about 2 years, startup tech world. That didn't kill me, but it almost killed me. But it was really, I think, helped me as an executive understand the technology side, especially as it relates to stadiums and arenas, et cetera.
Sure, sure.
And then I was at CAA, Creative Artists, for a bunch of years right through the pandemic, which is just a really special place. I was helped lead the global sports properties group there.
Wow.
So we sold across some major iconic brands: Formula One, Major League Baseball, US Open, UEFA, and we sold those properties globally, right? And so I think that the pandemic was a very interesting time for me. At the time, I had a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I was probably traveling 110 days out of the year. But I think an opportunity, it showed me maybe how present I wasn't at home, even though I had a job that I absolutely loved. But I had then when I pivoted out of CAA, I ended up at Cardinal Sports Capital, which was a smaller VC firm that specialized in sort of that media tech data convergence space within sports and entertainment. I ran their marketing services side of the business, but it was really cool. I mean, I love the startup world. It's just a very hard world to be in. But identifying companies that were disruptors, right, where we can put our shoulder into them too, right, and help sort of leverage our relationships within the marketplace. The market sort of slowed up a little bit, and we had a very, very good marketing services division. We brought on a company, drive21, which I'm now playing a much larger role in. drive21 is an experiential graphic design and build company. What is that, right? So Google and Amazon were their two biggest clients, and Google would buy a building and an office space, and they would come in with an architect and design the space, every aspect of the brand and how that brand integrated through that facility. And they had done a bunch of things in sports. They did the NBA offices, Major League Baseball offices, the NHL offices. They did a handful of studios, build outs, and they actually did the Austin FC entire stadium and arena. So I took they asked us to come aboard and help them say, hey, look, if we're gonna invest into sports, right, like what's the best way to do that? And so really, it was really an interesting sort of chocolate meets peanut butter type thing. I think, from an experiential graphic design and build standpoint, every stadium project, right, that's an element of the project, typically outsourced by the GC. And they handle every aspect of that, right, how the brand's built in. What we did is we said, yes, we want to be one of the best in that space at Do I have you back?
Yeah, I may have lost you for a second there, John. You back?
Yeah, no, we definitely did. I'm not sure where you lost me.
All right. Yeah, just about 10, 15 seconds ago. So all good. We can always, we'll
yeah. So look, I think at drive21, we took, they're experts in the EGD and build out area. We really combine that with strong experience in the global partnerships and corporate sponsorship world. Right. And so how do we look at these projects within these stadiums and arenas? Through the lens of revenue, not just renovating them and refreshing them. And so I think we really positioned ourselves interesting with drive21 in the space. I've now come aboard and was head of sports and entertainment for them. And I think we've created some amazing partnerships and excited about sort of direction that we're taking the company within the sports space.
Wow. Yeah. And congrats on the great career and kind of, all the cool experiences you've had in sports. That's amazing. I love hearing. That's why we're here, to interview people doing amazing things in sports. And it sounds like you fit the bill. So that's really cool there. So are you guys focusing on, mostly professional sports arenas and stadiums, or are you diving into the college space? And talk about like the wide, vast array of like venues and things you're working with and working for in drive21.
Yeah, I think we found our niche with creating strategic partnerships with the right entities. So one of the first deals that we did was with Van Wagner. their collegiate division, which has about 46 different universities that they manage, multimedia rights sales and other, various activities within those universities. Those universities, it's an arms race, in terms of facilities and not just an arms race now to attract recruits, but an arms race now to attract students, right, as well, especially with the tuitions. So we're working with them to bring a really unique service to all of their collegiate clients, whether it's redoing locker rooms, whether it's taking an older facility that needs a refresh or a renovation, right? Working with them on these projects, but also thinking about it through the lens of revenue and saying, how do we create experiences with this that is, one, is good for the fans, but two, allows a corporate partner to sort of tell their story. So with Van Wagner, very collegiate specific. And the other big partnership we cut was with the Oakview Group, OVG. They own and operate and construct new property, new buildings, and they also own OVG's 360, which manages about 350 venues across the country, right? And we're doing very similar things with them in terms of looking at renovations and refresh and naming rights opportunities and brand integration opportunities, and really creating some very, very cool inventory for their sales guys to go out and sell.
I love this. I think us as fans and just people in general, we go into these stadiums or we go into locker rooms as a player and you just, oh man, this looks amazing, right? You like kind of, oh, this is cool, but you don't really appreciate or think about what goes into that from a back end and like there are companies that are designing this and really thinking about the aesthetics of these facilities, such as Drive21. So I think, me personally, like shedding light on just that, oh, wow, there is a lot that goes into something like that for our enjoyment aesthetically. It doesn't just happen, right? And so I think that's just really cool to hear that you guys are really focused on that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Like these architectural firms working with ownership groups are creating facilities, and they should look at that, right, through the fan experience. How do we create the best experience for the fan to come there, right? It's so competitive for eyeballs these days. They made the experience so great at home, right, for us on these 85-inch TVs. I think the facilities are designed from a fan standpoint, and sometimes it gets overlooked on, okay, so how do we fit corporate partners into this, equation, right? And how do we create experiences that are great for fans, but allow the brands and corporate partners that really support these teams on a yearly basis tell their story, right, and touch the fans. And so I think there's a little bit of a void there that we're trying to fill, but it's definitely an exciting space to be in right now.
Yeah, let's shift gears just a bit. You mentioned this earlier that the aesthetics of and I'm mainly thinking college here now because it's like, recruiting age and the NIL era and all this, like how do we get the right players here? What can we give them? What can we show them? How do we get these players to the right spot? It's such a big deal right now, especially with the transfer portals out there and kids can kind of bounce where they want and take deals that they want. And so I'm assuming aesthetics and like that is a big part of it, right? You come into a place as a kid and you're like, holy moly, look at this. Like, this is where I want to be. How are you guys, I guess, thinking of that with colleges and facilities and tying in NIL and all of this? I mean, is there any strategy going into kind of some of that?
Yeah, I think two different ways that we're looking at it. I think that we just completed a project with St. Joe's University in Philly. And I think you'll see this much more as a trend that's beginning to happen, where athletics came together with recreation, right, and campus. And they renovated and built out a new facility that was half for their athletic teams, but the other half was for the students, right? Creating an amazing recreational experience for the students. Yep. And, yes, I think the arms race from a recruiting standpoint to have the best locker rooms and et cetera has been here for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. But I think now the schools are looking at it that, if we're charging 60,000+ a year for students to come here, we got to create an amazing experience, right? Mm-hmm. For them as well, not just for our student athletes. I think, you and I could probably talk an hour or hours about NIL, good about it, bad about it. We've taken an interesting approach with NIL. with our collegiate properties, and we'll be rolling out our first sort of integration. But the collegiate properties that we're working with, what we're doing is we're carving out a percentage of the overall project in a give back from an NIL standpoint. And so we're giving a percentage back to NIL, and then we're utilizing student athletes and creating a campaign to have the student athletes introduce the new facilities, right? And these are the places where these kids live. And that's really what name, image, likeness is about, right? We're leveraging that they are student athletes. This is their new home, right? And so we think it's a really interesting way to sort of give back, but it makes sense. We're building these facilities for these kids. These kids should showcase, what their schools are investing in.
Very cool. Very, very cool strategy. Yeah, I have firsthand testament to that. I got two in college, and they're down at the University of Tampa, and it's very aesthetically pleasing at the University of Tampa, like everything about it, right? And so my son's on the basketball team there, and my daughter's just a student. But as we walk around, we're like, oh man, it's so expensive here, right? This place is expensive. But then you're like, oh, but look, like this is like heaven, right? And you see stuff, and you're like, whoa. So that is a thing, right? Even for, like you said, outside of athletics, students, and all of that. So I'm a firsthand believer in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So what's the future look like for you guys? Like, where are you guys headed? What's on the future docket? Just get more partnerships, or what does it look like in the future for you guys?
Yeah, I think that we have two amazing partnerships right now that we're getting shoulder to shoulder with, and really starting to do some really cool things within their venues. I think it's showcasing some of those things, but creating a service and an offering that's good for any sales group, right? There's companies out there that just focus on naming rights opportunities. I think one of the challenges as a sales guy that had sold buildings and venues, a lot of times you're selling a vision, right? And so how do we come in and say, yeah, right, we can do this, blah, blah, blah here, but this is really what it could look like, right? And here's your brand integrated in, and providing renderings and really making that come to life, right? And providing tools for the sales guys at those facilities to sell, but also helping the brand understand, wow, this is how I could integrate in and touch the fans and do some cool things.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, John, it sounds like you have a ton of business experience in general, and I always like to ask maybe a little off-topic questions and things like that. But I love to just tap into your brain a little bit. Give us, just as an audience, as you're kind of an entrepreneur / businessman, all in one. I don't know. Give us a couple tips to succeeding in sports business in general, because I know a lot of people watching this may just be like sports business people, maybe aspiring sports business leaders. I don't know, just a couple tips to succeeding as a sports business leader. I'd love to hear that from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it's twofold a little bit. It's one, you have an awful lot of kids that want to get into sports, right? I think sports could mean so many different things, right? Yes. You can work for a team, you can work for a venue, you can work for a league, you can sell tickets, you can sell hospitality. Like, it's such a big, huge, vast world out there. I think that you need to be all in if you want to be in this space. You need to be a sponge as it relates to information about the industry, across the industry, not just that specific area. Sort of like you do, right, Ryan? How you cover the sports space, right? And then looking at all these interesting areas. You got to be a hustler, right? You got to go out and you got to work hard, like any other business or job, or whether that's being a professional athlete or being an executive. I think what excites me moving forward at my stage of the career, I think a lot of guys, like, we sort of created this little niche right here in Drive21, taking global partnership experience and packaging it up with environmental graphic design and build experience, right? And creating something new in the space. And always like disruptors. And I wouldn't say we're a disruptor. We're just looking at things a little bit differently, right? And we're trying to always, with our partners, look at it through the lens of revenue.
Got it. Great advice. Be a sponge, go all in, work hard, be a disruptor. Tips you can take, anyone can take from any area in sports.
Sounds a little cliche, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about the blocking and tackling.
No, I mean, it's cliche, but when you hear it from successful people, it means a lot. It means a lot, right? So I appreciate you sharing that, because that's what came to mind. And so that's, that's important stuff. So really appreciate that, John. All right, some last words here. What did we miss? One, what did we miss? Two, what did we miss that you want to speak about? And then secondly, do you have anything you guys need? What are you needing right now? What are you looking for? I mean, anything that people maybe listening could help with, or that you're just kind of, I don't know, what do we miss and what are you needing?
Yeah, I think one of the things we didn't talk about at all, but really excited me from a sales standpoint. We've just finished up a project, or we're finished up this element of the project with Florida International, FIU,
Cool.
and we just integrated Pitbull into the naming rights opportunity within the football stadium.
Mm,
As a guy that has sold naming rights and sold brand partnerships, I found this just totally amazing, right? And as we dove into it, it really could be a different way that people look at selling naming rights or cornerstone partnership opportunities because of all the synergies. I think Pitbull and Florida International happen to line up well from a synergy standpoint, right? Both South Florida, Pitbull is, international flair, it's Florida International. They both identify as 305. They have merchandise opportunities that they're going to come together and do. They're going to do a certain amount of concerts on at the facility. And then really, it was a really cool way to integrate, not a typical brand into a venue, right? And so that's an exciting thing to continue to work on. That's for sure.
that's really cool. I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But man, that's amazing. Yeah, and I think my brain's really spinning. I think well, no, I think a lot of these markets have that. They have a few of those people around, right? They have the iconic artist that is just you relate to that area code or to that city. They have the ex athlete that has a brand that maybe now they could name a stadium after that ex athlete. There's probably more of that than we really know if you really think about an area, right? So yeah, I think you're right. I think the future of that space is really cool.
That's cool. I mean, he was able to, he has a spirits brand, right? That's integrated within the facility.
Yeah,
It's just a different way to look at something that everyone's been doing one way for a long time. Right.
cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for bringing that up. What else? What else did we miss? Keep them going.
Yeah. I think that it's an exciting time in sports and in general. I think the collegiate space, because of all the reasons we talked about, is a really exciting landscape. I think, NIL and transfer portal and all those things made conference realignment has made the entire college sports landscape. Turned it upside down, right? But I always am a big believer in where there's chaos, there's opportunity.
Yeah.
I am very intrigued coming out of the St. Joe's project, looking at these universities, which is usually sometimes have been church and state, but coming together with and going across campus, right, with recreation and creating amazing experiences, not just for their student athletes, but for their students,
Yeah.
right, that are all athletes in their own right, whether they're pickleball players or CrossFit people, et cetera. And so I like that, right? I like it investing into the entire infrastructure of the university.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, John, for sake of time, I'm going to let you go here. Any last words, anything you wanted to say before I let you go, get you off?
No, Ryan, this has been great. Really appreciate your time. I'm gonna pull for the Bucks this season, that's for sure. No, it's been great, and you've been an awesome host. So appreciate your time.
Awesome. Appreciate it, John. Can't wait to catch up with you again. Good luck with everything in the future with Drive 21.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate your time.
All right, that was John Libro of Drive 21. Hopefully you enjoyed that show. Lots of cool things going on aesthetically around the world that we just kind of underappreciate. And I think they have their hand in a lot of that, which is really, really cool. Hopefully I learned a lot from John. Like I said, we love to bring amazing people in sports doing amazing things and just kind of shed some light on what they're doing, because I think some of that goes underlooked in this world these days. So if you know someone that would love to be on this show, please bring them to me and shoot me a DM. I'd love to get them on and kind of feature what they're doing in this world. All right. I think that's all I got for you today. I'm Ryan Nupel at KNUP out on all the socials. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. With that, enjoy week 2 coming up. Actually, week 3 of college, week 2 of NFL. And until next time, stay safe and we'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.